What's up, audit fans? Dr. Amanda White here, and today we're looking at board meeting minutes. You'll read in lots of textbooks and in the auditing standards that there's something to look at to gather evidence. But what are we looking for, and how do we search through those minutes? Today, that's what we're going to get into, so let's get into it. Welcome back to all of my regular subscribers. Thanks for watching. If you're new here, my name is Amanda. I really do love audit. I teach audit at a major Australian university to undergrads, and I'm here on this channel as well because I'm so passionate about audit as a career and making resources to help students become auditors from wherever they are around the world. So today we're looking at board meeting minutes, and I'm going to start writing here on my tablet. So before we actually get into board meetings, let's start with exactly the board. Now remember, the board is there as a function to help with accountability and governance. All right, so the board is there to make sure that management of the firm are accountable to their shareholders for the decisions that they make. And so they're providing overall strategic direction. So the question next is, who is on the board? So the board is made up of a group of directors, and those directors tend to come from two sources. The first one is executive directors, and the next one is what we call non-executive directors. Now, for most publicly listed companies, the only people who are executive directors, usually just the CEO, sometimes potentially also the CFO. So who exactly are non-executive directors? Well, non-executive directors are independent directors. They don't work within the firm, and their responsibility is wholly to shareholders and shareholders' interests. All right, so they're really the shareholder representatives. Now, generally, you'll see many more non-executive directors than directors on the board. Now, you might think, okay, there's the board, but the board actually has a number of subcommittees. So you will start out with the board, but then the board also has a number of different committees. Now, the one that we probably will know most about is the audit committee. So the audit committee is responsible for everything financial reporting, liaising with the auditor, we're receiving the reports of internal auditors, everything that goes on with financial reporting. So that's the audit committee. Then typically you'll also have a remuneration committee. Now the remuneration committee is really important because they evaluate how executives get paid. So they're looking at pay, they're looking at KPIs, are KPIs been met? Are they set appropriately? What should pay be? So remuneration committees are really important. Then you've also got nominations committees, which is really for people who are coming onto the board. How do we choose who are going to be directors? Directors don't have an indefinite term. They're usually appointed for a specific number of years, and then they have to be reappointed and approved by shareholders. So nominations committee. And then there's usually a fourth committee. Now that fourth committee can take lots of different forms. Let me show you some websites here. And so the first one we're looking at here is Rio Tinto. Rio Tinto has a board, an audit committee, a nominations committee, a remuneration committee, and a sustainability committee. So their fourth committee is sustainability. If we look here at Qantas, Qantas has audit, remuneration, nominations, but they also have safety, health, environment, and security, which is quite a broad catch-all committee. And then this next one here, we're looking at the Woolworths Group. It's a supermarket chain here in Australia. Again, audit, which also they've expanded to include risk management and compliance, but that's generally what the audit committee is about. People Performance Committee, which is sort of like the remuneration committee, the nomination committee, and the sustainability committee. So when you're thinking about exactly what's happening, you want to look at not only the documents from the main board. So in terms of meetings, the main board usually meets about 11 times a year, and they talk about all sorts of stuff. big strategic directions, approvals of big projects. So the board meets 11 times, but you also want to check out, so every time they have a meeting, there's going to be minutes. And remember, minutes are like the official record of the meeting. The audit committee usually meets, these subcommittees, I guess, all meet between 4 to 5 times per year. Okay, and so for these committees, you want to make sure that you obtain the main board meeting minutes, but you also want to get the minutes for these subcommittees as well. What's been happening in the audit committee? What's been happening in the remuneration committee? In the nominations committee, not so much. And in that fourth committee, which might be about sustainability or environment or risk, you definitely want to have a look at that one, because this is where decisions are made. These people on the board are steering the ship. They're providing the general direction for the company. And so things like remuneration, if you understand what management's KPIs are, you'll understand where they're probably trying to manipulate the accounts to maximize their own bonus and compensation. So, what exactly are auditors looking for when we look into these different committees and their minutes? All right, so you'll get these as PDFs, and you need to, as well, to be able to look through these, the first thing you're going to need is you're going to need to have an understanding of the client. Okay, and this is ISA ASA 315. All right, if you don't understand the client, then looking at the minutes is not going to make any sense. So you need to know the industry, what do they do, how do they do it, because these minutes are going to help you shape your understanding of executive decision making, what's coming down the line. So in terms of things that we're looking for, I've got a list. So the first sort of thing we're going to be looking for is key decision making and approvals. And in terms of what sort of things they could be making decisions about, the first one is CapEx, capital expenditure, big expenditure investments that could help us with auditing and understanding what is happening, depreciation rates, calculating the correct value for any capital expenditure. How much is it going to be? Does there need to be loans? Do we need to do anything special in the audit of those loans? So capital expenditure is the first one, and linked to that one is loans or liabilities, and especially large liabilities. That's going to be an important thing. The next thing we want to look at is really, we're trying to get an understanding of the firm, and so often the board will be briefed on certain things like key industry developments. So there might be something really big happening in the industry, and they're looking at that development and they're saying, okay, what is going to be the risk to our company? What are the opportunities? Are there any financial implications that go along with looking at this particular industry development? They might also be briefed on lawsuits. Now, for us, lawsuits potentially will create contingent liabilities. So it'll help us understand, do we need to look for contingent liabilities? Do we need to investigate legal expenses? And potentially with lawsuits, they might also create subsequent events. And that might also happen as well with industry developments. Industry developments might also create things that are sub-events. Now, we're doing this at the beginning of the audit, and subsequent events are something we look at typically at the end, but I need to keep all of this information in my mental model of the firm, of everything that I know, so that when I get to that point, I go, oh yeah, that's right, I remember this stuff about a key industry condition, about a loan that might not be able to be renewed, about a lawsuit that could create some issues. So really, I guess as well, we might look at any meetings that happen after the end of the financial year for subsequent events, but we're also looking for any information about going concern, especially in the current environment where there's extreme financial pressure that companies are facing. We're going to look at things like, Are they talking about cash flow? What are they looking at in terms of, revenue? Because they'll be likely talking about, will the business survive? What do we need to change? Do we need to have any cost cutting measures? Because all of this information also will affect how we do our audits. So when it comes to looking at our board meeting minutes, we're reading all this information and we're trying to categorize it. Oh, this is information that could be related to auditing sales. This information is related to going concern. Oh, they're having a problem getting a part, which is going to affect inventory potentially. So we're taking every piece of information, and not every bit of information in the board meeting minutes is going to flow through to the financial report. But remember, it's all contextual information. And that contextual information is really important to help us identify the risks. Remember, we take a risk-based approach to audit. So if we can identify where the risks are by analysing this big picture view that the board has, then we've got a better chance of detecting material misstatements, identifying those areas where there is greater risk of material misstatements, and giving the correct audit opinion. Now, remember earlier when I said we'd look at things like the remuneration committee as well. When it comes to the remuneration committee, I want to investigate things like, what are the KPIs? What are the key performance measures? Are we just close to meeting them, beating them? Because those KPIs will help us, remember I said before, to management incentives, to manipulate the accounts. Okay, when I'm looking at the audit committee minutes, I'm going to be looking at, have they received any reports of fraud? Are there any potential risks of material misstatement that might have been identified as part of the internal audit process that we need to take into account from our external reporting process? If I'm looking at the nominations committee, not so much. It's something that I need to look at in detail, but that sustainability committee or the operations or whatever that fourth committee is, that could affect business operations, which again has flow-on effects with accounting. I hope that answers all of your questions about board meeting minutes. If I missed something, please pop your questions in the comments below and I'll do my best to answer them. If you haven't already, please consider subscribing. I've always got new content coming out about audit, and of course plenty of existing videos to help you if you're a student or you're trying to brush up on your audit skills through my YouTube channel and also on my Amanda Loves to Audit webpage, and there's a full study guide there if you're a student looking for additional resources. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you next time.